Hey, it's me. Ooh, tell me. The guys with the five eyes that you see. And today we're going to be talking a little bit of some more entertainment news. We're going to speak on Michaela Pink, Ghost of Tsushima, and the loss of honor and true sacrifice in the black community. Now, to give a basic summary of what I'm speaking on, as we see, Michaela Pink is some YouTube personality that I've never heard of, who is gaining. Well, I guess she's popular. I don't know how long she's been popular, but she's been a little bit pretty popular for being a dating coach that teaches women how to level up. And I'm going to pair that with a certain scene and storyline in Ghost of Tsushima. I will tell you now. Spoilers, spoilers, spoilers. I'm gonna put in a. I don't know how to do the drop tag with the video to lead you ahead of the spoilers in case you want to play that game. I'm probably just gonna put it in the title. Make it simple for everybody. I'll figure that out. And how honor and sacrifice in the black community is more and more becoming either entirely absent or completely skewed in this view. So before we go into the story with Michaela Pink, right? I'm going to show you guys this storyline here from Ghost of Tsushima. It's a game I've been playing, and in this storyline, you know, I'm not gonna go into the whole summary of the game because it's not the main focus. But you play as the samurai character. I keep forgetting, is his name Jin or something? I don't know. And this old lady is Masako. And essentially her whole clan gets destroyed from the inside out, in addition to all the samurai that fought the Mongol warriors at the beach in this game. um so in this quest, you essentially have to find the traitors, and you have to go kill the traitors. But just listen to this dialogue really quick, and you're going to understand what I'm talking about the loss of honor and sacrifice in the black community soon after.
Defending our home.
Why have you come?
The Mongol Khan has captured Lord Shimra. If your clan joins me, we can save my uncle and avenge your men.
Clan Adachi is dead. Massacred by our own people.
Traitors. Why would they kill those who swore to protect them?
I intend to find out.
I'm coming with you.
No, do not set aside your concerns for mine.
The family of samurai are my concern. I know what it means to be the last of one's clan.
I cannot be responsible for your death.
You won't be.
Ride with me.
I fought men at your estate.
They were waiting to finish what they started. The night my husband and sons rode to face the Mongols. The assassins came to our home. My sister took the children and fled. I stayed with my sons' wives to fight our attackers. We were outnumbered. And then I was the only one left.
That's how it ended for me at Komoda.
For me, it wasn't over. I buried them with the rest of our family. I tried to save them, but the assassins caught them on the road, cut them down. My sister, my grandchildren, even little Natsu. She was just born. All I could do was bury her with her mother.
This never should have happened.
My sister should have been buried with her husband in the north. But at least she's with family.
Okay, so That's a really, really, really touching scene there, and I'm going to get to the spoilers right now because you know, I just got basic. I'm not gonna take you through the whole journey. Essentially, you find the traitors, you kill the traitors, and then she finds her sons, and they got hung at the beach at Komoda, where the first big fight against the Khan's army, the Mongols, happened. Uh, and the thing about this, right, this game and this kind of old culture of like the samurai and stuff, is this is like, this is a global thing, because back in those times of antiquity and human history, with this lack of technology, well, relatively like electronic technology, people had much closer bonds. They had to stay together. Your family was everything. Your name was everything. Who you were and what you do. And when people come and destroy that, it would destroy the fabric of your whole society. So people took their interpersonal relationships much more seriously, because at that kind of time, like, the world was so much more dangerous. And how that kind of relates to like honor and sacrifice is, you got your main character here. He is already a samurai, so he already has to basically put his life on the line for others, whether it be his people or his lord. And he has to go save his lord, but he has to, get help. And this lady is one of the greatest warriors on the island. Um, and she wants to handle this on her own, but he understands that, for one, he needs her, but for two, this is a travesty. This demands justice and everything. And from what I'm getting from this game in general, Japanese culture back then, I don't want to say it was super traditional, but the honor system, the honor code that they had, they were extremely strict on this. And part of honor is not also like part of the honor is not only having honor for yourself, but having honor for the people that you love and your friends and who appreciate you, which leads into sacrifice, because we are all in this together in life. Humanity cannot get to anywhere it's been or will go without the sacrifice of others, whether this means lives, whether this means time, resources. you know I even remember a time my friend when I was in college, had a really bad episode. Won't get into it too much, but he needed me one time, right? He just called and said, "Can you just like stay by me or whatever?" And it was, one, really weird because he was always so normal, but like two, I was also young. I wanted to stay around the other friends who were partying and stuff. I didn't want to leave the party, but I had to understand that that is one of my close friends, and he needs me at that point, And low key, I didn't really enjoy having to go over there to be by his side completely, but like, I was just a young boy. But at the same time, I knew what I had to do. I had to, that's the honor of the friendship I share with him. So I'm gonna make that sacrifice of my time and my fun. And I went and stayed with him, and we're still super good friends now. And I'm glad I actually did that, because thinking about it now, I had plenty of times to have fun. But when you're young, you think everything is your last chance to do anything. That FOMO hits in. But yeah, so there's that. Now let's get on to the main topic, the main story. Michaela Pink, I'm gonna call her Michaela because she doesn't deserve to have her name pronounced correctly. YouTube star who teaches date rich, arrested for theft and money laundering. Michaela Pink, or Mickey Fox, that sounds like a really, really nice porn name, is one of the most popular relationship experts on YouTube. She teaches women how to date and eventually marry rich men. Not surprisingly, her videos have millions of views because millions of women are desperate. Michaela is best known for her videos where she teaches women how to level up, increase their femininity, and secure the bag through dating and marriage. And that's all extremely contradictory because feminine women are less motivated by money and more motivated by provisions and protections. And you do need to have a certain amount of provision, I mean, money for provisions. But the thing about that is you have to understand what these levels are. If a man has $150,000 house, that should be good enough for like 99% of women on this planet. And there's not too much differences depending on where you live between 150 and 200. Even if a dude has $1 million mansion, I mean, it's still just a place to sleep in. You don't necessarily need that. So that's why that's contradictory. You're talking about securing the bag through dating and marriage, and that's selfish because when you marry, you're not supposed to be just focused on securing money, and frivolous things that aren't resources. You're supposed to be focused on building a family and a legacy for yourself, because because guess what? Men aren't the only ones that men give the seed, women birth it. It's still your DNA too. So it's crazy. Like a lot of women out there are not thinking about having children in a legacy mind state like most men are. They think about having children to just like solidify the bond with the man, but that's bullshit because you got married. That's supposed to solidify your bond there. Anyway, let's keep going. But it appears Michaela is not leveling up, as she recently has been arrested and charged with theft and money laundering. So she's leveling down, right? And look at this mugshot. You know what? Chickens come home with a roost. This is gonna be a lot of people out there because during these desperate times of the CVID era, 19 era, things are gonna get bad. But see, this is the thing we really need to pay attention to the most. Michaela is 40 years. I'm not gonna pronounce her name right. She don't deserve it. Is 40 years old and has three sons. Three, aged 4, 9, and 17. She recently divorced the father of her last two children, which is funny because it seems like, I mean, I'm not calling out my mom here or anything. I'm just saying this facts. It seems like whenever a woman has like a first child and he's a teenager, and then like they always like if they have a second child, it always seems to come from another dude, and that's always the funniest thing to me. Like once they have a kid, and once he gets to like 8 or 9, if they have another kid, it's usually but like the second baby daddy. I don't know. Like you don't really see them having like second kids like that deep into their age, like with like a husband or a boyfriend and stuff. Yeah, I never get it. But she recently divorced the father of the last two to live her best life, became a YouTube star about dating life, and claimed to simultaneously date over 10 men who give her thousands of dollars. She may have gotten married to a millionaire, she hinted. So she's lying. Because you would have gotten married to the millionaire and you would have announced that. Most women are not going to keep that a secret. And see, this is the thing about this that is highly dishonorable. Like, her life is a mess, and how can you teach me relationship advice when you can't stay in relationships? That's the thing that I think that's going to be really like these times. This is one of the reasons why I think it's going to be very dangerous for women, because like women more so than men, they like the dream, they like the fantasy of things, they like to be whimsical about what their future could be. And in order to do that for most of them, because most of them will not have that extremely glamorous American dream that doesn't really exist, they have to live vicariously through other media personalities, because the media entertainment is what women really follow the most. If you're an entertainer, women just basically think, okay, you have all the rights to tell me what to do. And another thing about women that a lot of men know is they like to ignore contradictory behavior if it sounds good. With these kind of relationship experts on YouTube, it seems like most of the biggest ones in the female Negro sphere space, I don't know, they generally tend to be really bad at relationships. Now think about it. It didn't say she's twice divorced. So she basically was a baby mama for the first guy. and then eventually met another dude and was on track, got married, had some other kids, gave him some kids. Because I feel like if you have kids already and you marry another dude, like if you're not marrying a dude who doesn't care to have kids, then you need to have kids with that dude, even if he's just thinking about it. You're obligated to give him some progeny. Otherwise, you're just being an asshole trying to make him raise other people's kids, because that's your baby father's job. And she divorced him anyway to quote unquote live her best life. So she has no right to tell anyone anything about dating advice, because she can't date, period. Even talking about dating, quote unquote, dating up to 10 men, that it's just what sense does that make? How do you expect her to tell you anything that's truthful beyond the basic stuff, like, oh, if he sells drugs it's a red flag, or you need to lose weight, things like that. Like, I don't even really want to go into her content, honestly, because a person like this, like, you can kind of see how she kind of presents herself anyway. She's got the weave, she's showing the cleavage, like it's almost like low key, she's not really even doing this for women. It's like what she got arrested for. She was doing this for money, and she was also doing this to show out to suitors. Because I wouldn't be surprised if a millionaire was courting her. But anyways, to get back on track, what does this have to do with honor and sacrifice and the lack thereof in the black community? This is the thing about the black community. We want things that we don't have so bad, whether it be physical possessions or relationships or self appreciation, whatever. We want things so bad that in our community it's acceptable for you to do anything it takes to get that, because most of us don't have it. And that's what this whole securing the bag thing is, like a whole phenomenon, right? Because the thing about securing the bag is, the whole point of it is you get the money no matter what. And I hate how fixated black people are on money, because cash, the US dollar is already failing. And we're at this point in history where we're thinking of, I mean, different currencies, mostly mainly cryptos, are basically at play to be the next reserve up, and it just goes to show how deep of a hypocritical situation black people are in when we value something that's increasingly becoming worthless so much. And that leads to a culture of dishonor, because it's acceptable for us to scam people, to, trick people out of their money, laundering, being fake experts towards like things like dating, even building credit, starting businesses, because as long as that person is getting money and getting fame and attention, we think they do no wrong. And especially for women, women have gotten to the point where they don't understand things morally. As long as you got a bag, fuck what kind of person you are. As long as you got some clout, fuck what kind of person you are. Forget your honor. You don't need it, because as long as I'm satisfied and I get what I want, not necessarily what I need, but what I want, then hey, I'm living my best life. And this thing is inevitably going to kill many black women, because I'm theorizing right now that within this next decade, or possibly 2030 to 40, I feel like black women suicide rates are going to explode, and probably get up to the rate of white men's suicide rates. Because now we are at a point in our history where there are more black women than men. There are more black men married than black women as well, though. So that means the market pool of single men for black women is not as big as you think, right? And then black women have more children out of wedlock than black men, you know? and the single mother rate for like all women that have children is at 70. Whereas 50% of black men, around give or take, don't even have kids. I wouldn't say exactly 50. It's probably like 40 something, maybe a little 50, but basically 50-40 kind of don't even have kids, period. And the ones that do and are single fathers, though, it's somewhere like around the 30-40 range. So essentially, most black women are single, and most of the single black women, I mean, most black women are single, and most black women that have kids are single. So essentially, a good portion of single black women are single mothers. And as we've discussed in previous videos, those women are generally the poorest women in this whole entire country. And when it comes to the first world, basically the whole entire first world globally. Um, and the thing about poverty is, and this is one thing I will give black women, it is really incredible that they can be in poverty so deeply, but you don't really, black women are really not known for heavy drug use. Whereas like white people, the poorer they are, the chances of them using drugs just increase exponentially. But the thing about this though is it will take its toll because our economy is basically a mess right now. It's going to get substantially worse, and these women really have nothing to look forward to, and they're not willing to make the sacrifice to make their kids' lives better. And what do I mean by that? Because you gotta understand, everything in the life is cyclical, and what we're going through now is a cycle as well. And I'm not gonna do the whole is it black women's fault or is it black men's fault. What I will say though is black women control the access to sex. So if a black man gets you pregnant, even if it's on accident, even if you both didn't intend for it, you both should pretty much understand if you have sex, you can get pregnant. But you should be more responsible with that. Because unless you get raped, which is pretty much, yeah, not hopefully, but more than likely, you're not going to get forcibly taken like that. You can basically tell the guy no, and it's going to be that. He may try to inch and budge you a little bit, but he's probably just going to be like, whatever. He's just going to have to give up. And black women argue against that. And when they do, again, the hypocrisy comes. Because now you're basically saying, okay, so you have to give it up to black men, but you also are like, it's my body, my choice. But you're not willing to say no. Because you can't control yourself. Why? Because you don't have any honor for yourself. And you're not willing to sacrifice momentary pleasure, which, as I've learned, really is not all that. Because we've got to really address how sex is not, it doesn't feel that good. It's just an urge. And it's an urge that people can't cope with now more than ever because sex is so prevalent in our media, whether it be basic TV shows or pornography. And now we're in this cycle of destruction because when we reproduce and have these children, well, most of the time, guess who's raising them? The women. And most of the time, what position are they in? They're in a poverty position. And the thing about poverty is when you're raising a kid and you're poor, everything is a sacrifice. You got to sacrifice everything, your whole life, basically. But why are we in this position? Because a lot of these women don't feel like making that sacrifice. They don't feel like staying up extra hours after work to help their child learn how to read or do a science project, They desperately take them out to the football and the basketball courts and fields and whatnot and leave them at school as long as they can so someone else can just raise them up, Or they'll go drop them off at grandma and granddad's house, but they won't even drop them off some money. Like, here, grandma, thanks for watching Dejarius. Here's $100. It's the weirdest thing. They're hyper selfish. They're not willing to sacrifice their life for their child. And as a result of that, their child grows up not understanding that the best, all the good things you ever want and will need in life are going to require some kind of sacrifice of some kind of form, whether it be maybe your character or, your time. Something has to give. You can't just get something and that's it. Even just your basic physical energy. Your sacrifice every day you're alive is a sacrifice of your life force. So the only thing they can think of sacrificing is other people. you know um and that's just kind of the position that we're in, and we have to blame men and women like her that sell these dreams to black women, because Kevin Samuels, he breaks it down a lot multiple times on his show. A lot of these women want to date rich men, but first of all, it's not a lot of men out there in general, because it's you guys outnumber us by like 2 million, and a decent portion, most of us aren't taken, but when like 30 to 40% of us are taken, then you got like 50%. And honestly, I'm gonna just go off the head and say 20% of that 50%, they just don't want to get married or do nothing at all. So you really got like a pool of 30% of available bachelors. But then when you want to get the top men and succumb to the 80, the 90-10 rule, basically your odds of getting that kind of man are impossible, And that's the dream she tries to sell y'all, because she's a dishonorable person. She has no moral code and care for her fellow black woman. She's not helping you. She's abusing you. She's using you. And the even more dishonorable thing about that is she's already getting your time, money, and attention, right? And she still finds a way to commit fraud. She probably doesn't even need to do that. I've seen her video counts. She probably gets a good paying from YouTube, good paying from Patreon and other people. She doesn't need to do that. But because she has no honor and no sense of self, she will keep going after that no matter what. And now, because she wasn't willing to sacrifice the greed that she has, she's going to jail, and her kids have to deal with that. And especially for like a 4-year-old and a 9-year-old, do you know how traumatic it is for your mom to suddenly be gone? I remember being a kid, and when my mom moved up to Maryland, it it wrecked me. Like I remember one time just crying to myself and being like, I miss my mommy, you know. And I can only imagine what the 4-year-old and the 9-year-old are going through, and the 17-year-old too, because this is honestly pretty embarrassing. You're just gonna go to school, and because pretty much everyone's gonna know your mom and know what she's gone through. And also, just think about, she has like sons, just straight up. She just has sons, and when you like 19 years old and your mom's bragging about dating 10 men at a time, it's just like it almost makes you think, man, is my dad even my real dad? That's what happens when you don't have a sense of self to just keep your own ethic and to develop a moral code. That's what honor is supposed to do. Honor helps everybody stay in line and makes it so that people can trust each other even when they don't really know each other like that, and they can rely and depend on each other. Because there's going to be a lot of times in your life where you are simply going to have to trust someone you do not know. And if they have a proper honor system for themselves, you know, things go along accordingly. She honestly has probably been ruining people's lives because, again, like I said, she teaches women to get rich men, but there are not a lot of rich men out there. So you have some women whose brains are stuck on like recycle mode, where they're just, the only thing they're thinking is he gotta be having the bag and things like that. And another thing is when they get a guy like that, in the rare case they do, they don't hold up. They don't. They don't, because they just don't understand what those kind of guys, who those kind of guys are. And a lot of times from what I've seen, they don't have what it takes to make that guy be like, I want to commit to you, because of the way they present themselves, living dishonorably, trying to get that man's bag. They're basically just like any other girl. So when they get cheated on, it's all a surprise. But it's like, with a guy like that, you either gonna have to accept that's the way he is, or you gotta really be convincing and get him to change his mind. But anyways, that's what I got to say about that. And my closing points are, um, we can attribute a lot of things in the black community to our lack of honor, our lack of code. We have a very huge segment of black people out there that are living very wildly and desperately. They're so desperate to find somebody to give them a good sign of hope that they'll listen to anybody and not even really consider, like, why is this woman talking about relationships so much and I haven't heard anything about her being married? How is she good at relationships when she's been divorced and she couldn't even stay with the father of her first child, and she's dating 10 guys, but how come none of them have wanted to like marry her? Or wait, maybe one of them did, but how come she isn't getting married? Aren't you supposed to be a relationship coach? Isn't that like the ultimate relationship, a marriage? And lastly, how do you claim to be getting the bag but you can't even confirm that you secured yourself a millionaire? Our people don't be asking these questions about these kind of people. Why? Because they're desperate. They need a dream. And I better hurry this up before the roommate's dog starts barking and stuff. Um, if black people really developed a sense of honor, we would really, even if we were poor, honestly, we would turn that around. Because the key to a lot of black poverty is just having children out of wedlock. And one thing we gotta understand is women, this is in your control. You control that. Because, like I said, unless a man forces you, which most men won't, then he basically can't have whoopee with you no matter what, unless you allow it. You have to just not allow that to. Hey! Oh my god. You just can't allow that to happen. Alright? Because we know them guys ain't gonna control themselves, and that's how it is. But anyways, the dog is yawning. It's gonna mess up this video. It's long enough and all that anyways. So again, closing points. Black people, you gotta have some honor. Black women, control your vaginas. Black men, if you can't control your dick, well, you can't control your dick. Because guess what? Black women, you can control your vaginas. You can control their dicks. Alright, I'm out.